Hey y'all, it's Kim again. I'm trying to get these videos recorded, but anyway, we normally watch Lefties losing, but today we're gonna watch what the guys got is World's Gone Mad. It seems like a lot of these people at these protests and rallies or whatever they're supposed to be for the Democrats are just calling for like violence and just counterculture stuff. I mean, everything is just opposite of like what the majority would like. But anyway, you'll just see it in the video. I've seen some weird stuff. There was one lady that had a shirt that said something about, "Isn't he dead yet?" And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And then they came out recently. There was a poll done, I think, with Rutgers University, when they were saying that basically 55% uh, Democrats say that it would be justified to kill Trump. And I'm just like, really? That's awful. Oh my gosh. And then 45 or 40 something percent to kill Elon Musk. But I mean, you're going to ruin your entire life and take somebody else out because you don't agree with them politically. That's pretty like deranged. And you have to be like mentally unstable to have that kind of thought in your head in the first place. Anyway, I mean, I don't know why people are so like hateful, like hate filled, rage filled. He hasn't done anything other than uncover the stuff that your congressmen and women have been doing for years. But okay, got it. Anyway, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But here you go. It's called The World's Gone Mad, and you'll see exactly why. Anyway.
Now it's time for a little thing we like to call the world's gone mad. Yes, you're watching The World According to Rowan Dean, and what a mad and crazy world it is. Remember the bad old days when protest marches were so boring and unimaginative and looked a little like this?
Although the main speakers have not spoken yet, Hobson said that we are here not only to stop.
Oh, how dull. Never fear. Fueled by bouts of chronic and incurable TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, today's street protests have become far more entertaining and indeed more creative, like this. Ah, yes, the old crawling Donald Trump. Well, how about this work of art? An absolute masterpiece.
That's disgusting. That's like Satan worship or something.
I airbrushed it, I designed it, I do my own makeup, everything.
That's just crazy.
Michelangelo, eat your heart out. That's what I call high art. Of course, what any decent protest movement needs is a catchy slogan, right? Stop the war, ban the bomb, that sort of thing. Well, how about kakistocracy?
Can you explain a little bit for our viewers what this means?
Go ahead.
Where's your handout? Hold on. What the hell is a cactus? I can't even pronounce it. A cactus. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? What the hell does that mean? It's got to be something they made up. Where's my Google? It's of course being a pain in the butts. Let me scoot this out of my way. Okay. Cacistocracy. That's an actual word. A government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Everybody, the Trump knows exactly what they're doing. Oh my gosh. You gotta get a handout to explain it. So if you have to have something that's like scripted that way, it doesn't come from the heart. It's inauthentic. It's not genuine. I mean, you gotta look up the definition of it. I didn't even know what it was. I'd seen that video, but I was like, why would they need a piece of paper to explain if they really felt that way? They don't even know what the hell they're protesting. Ah,
Perhaps it needs something a bit catchier, I don't know, like how about all people are children of the earth? That's good.
Get out of your way.
All people are children
How about that?
of the earth.
Yeah, all people are children of the earth. Can you disagree with that?
He's got a point, can't argue with that, I guess. But if we're talking high art, nothing quite says incurable TDS like bastardizing American Pie.
Long, long time ago, I can still remember how the US used to make me smile. Now it feels we've changed our stance since they elected Trump and Vance.
Ah, yes, Trump and Vance. But what about Elon Musk?
Went down from dawn to dusk as he appointed Elon Musk. Democracy became a husk the day the US died.
Ah, yes, the day the music died indeed. Actually, I think Don McLean was always a bit premature with his prediction. I think this is the day the music died.
what's up?
Not sure he or she's quite got the hang of bar chords yet. Or if you're a total weirdo with paranoid psychotic TDS, you could always wish for the day the Donald died.
Tell us what you mean by this.
Oh, look at
Well,
this lady.
I mean that it won't fix all the problems, but it sure is a great start.
Look at
That
her
Liberation
shirt.
Day.
Look at her shirt. It says, "Is he dead yet?" And then it says, "Liberation Day will be the day Trump dies." Are you serious? Where is the FBI and the Secret Service, like investigating this crazy lunatic?
Should not be connected to what he has done. That is not liberation.
Charming. Mind you, that woman is a model of understatement compared to this bloke.
Stand up and say it, fascist. Stand up and say it. I'm standing up and saying what I believe. You stand up and say what you believe, and not platitudes, and not idolatry. Let's hear ideas. You have no ideas. All you have is hate, racism, stupidity, and greed.
All you have is hate, rage, idolatry. Ah, dear. Still, if you look hard enough, there are always plenty of sane, normal, everyday Americans at these demonstrations, such as this individual.
Hey friends,
Lord.
I just passed the Dunkin' Donuts, which is the most vague possible location I could possibly give you in Massachusetts. But besides being near a Dunkin' Donuts, which places me somewhere in Massachusetts, I mentioned I'm at the Hands Off Boston March, and it is the slowest march I have ever been in, and I could not be more happy about that, because that means that the streets between the park and City Hall are entirely filled with people.
Entirely filled with these people. Which people, though? There is one key demographic missing from all these anti-Trump protests compared to those famous demonstrations of the 1960s. Have you noticed which demographic it is? This young girl certainly has.
This is what we get. We get a crowd of 30-somethings and their children and seniors, and barely any teenagers. Barely any teenagers ever. Like, oh my god. I can't even.
So what is she wearing? This is a keffiyeh. She's white. She's a white liberal girl. What's she doing? Trying to pander. Oh boy.
Where are you going if you're not going to the protest right now?
Good question. Barely any teenagers. Where are they? Perhaps they are at home enjoying their teenage years and doing lots of fun things that teenagers do, rather than wandering the streets with a bunch of psychotic, demented TDS suffering lunatics. Or maybe, heaven forbid, they actually support Donald Trump and even wear a MAGA hat to school to show that support.
Take the hat off in my classroom, and I'm not going to say anything.
So mine has distracted me from teaching.
Okay. Take the hat off. I asked you nicely. Now I'm going to ask.
Nice teacher. Other young people are more focused on making their fortune to have time for frivolous protests, like this lass.
It's $1 million. One, just one, is all I'm asking for.
Huh?
You guys are asking like I don't even know what to say. I just want $1 million. Just one.
Just $1 million.
For what?
It's not a lot to ask for, is it? I agree with her. Yes, the entitled welfare generation. Perhaps someone could suggest a new slogan to that young lady, like, get a job?
Well, every morning about this time, she gets me out of my bed and I get a job.
And of course, there are all those other girls who genuinely have something to protest about, like protesting to their school board that they've been replaced on their all-girls sports team by a boy.
Wow.
Since the start of the season in August, I ran in every varsity race. In late October, the male transfer student was given my spot after not being held to the same strict team requirements as me and the rest of the girls.
That's right, thanks to leftist insanity in the Biden years, that poor young girl was denied a place on her sports team because it was given to a boy who claims to be a girl. No wonder many kids support Donald Trump. Here's another girl, a young fencer, who simply gave up when confronted with a biological male. That brave young girl was immediately disqualified and expelled from the tournament because she refused to compete against a biological man.
I wouldn't.
There is one rather novel way, however, to solve this problem. Like in Britain this week, we're in a women's snooker tournament. Both the competitors were biological men. Eureka! Solved the problem. Make all women men. Hey, problem solved. Honestly, where's Jermaine Greer when you need her? Still, it's never plain sailing in these modern days of gender confusion.
I can't pee in 4% of America right now. So
you can't pee in 4% of America.
In 4% of America, it is illegal for me to use the men's restroom in government buildings.
But even that pales into insignificance when it comes to how you should hold a margarita.
All right. We outside, we in the pool, I mean my little margarita or whatever.
What the hell?
Still, I always say if you're even slightly confused about your gender, adopt a slogan like never give up.
Don't give up. Not yet. Be hopeful. Be happy. There's still tomorrow. Don't give up. Never give up. No, no, no. Don't give up. No, no, no.
No, never give up. And speaking of never giving up, this week was the anniversary of one keffiyeh-garbed protester who had no choice but to give up.
You're hurting me.
You're hurting me.
Meanwhile, in the UK, a nurse was suspended for misgendering a transgender pedophile,
no.
according to the Daily Mail, by referring to him as Mr. That pedophile, by the way, had repeatedly called the nurse the N-word. All she did was call him Mr. But she was the one who got punished. What a dystopian absurdity the United Kingdom has become. As the nurse Jennifer Mellet told the Daily Mail, I am expected to tolerate racism, deny biological reality, and suppress my deeply held Christian beliefs. End of quote. In modern Britain, yes, it appears you most certainly are. No wonder the Brits are confused.
But transgender women are male, aren't they?
No, transgender women are women.
So if transgender women are women, why are they trans?
Transgender women are women.
If they're women, why are they trans? What makes transgender women?
The fact they are transgender.
And what does trans mean when it comes before the word woman?
Such a tricky question there. No wonder she was struggling. Meanwhile, over in America, a young lass answered her own question about white privilege.
Why don't you believe that white privilege exists? I just want to get your understanding first, and then we could go from there.
Well, let's just, is there anything that you can't do that I can do?
No, we could do the same things if we put our minds to it.
Then there's no white privilege.
No white privilege. Simple as that. You almost have to laugh, almost as funny as this AI Trump gag.
In this executive order, every single protester shall get a mandatory shower. Also, their new pronouns will now be re and
could almost have been real. Yes, there's plenty of material for comedians these days. Here's two comics, I love this, holding an imaginary conversation between Robert Kennedy Jr., he of the croaky throat, and Elon Musk.
Really wonderful to have you here today, Elon, and have an opportunity to talk with you.
That's really not that funny. I mean, you're making fun of somebody's. I mean, he can't help his voice. I mean, he's a creep.
LOL. I mean, it's like.
That's hilarious. And not to be outdone, here's a victim of Elon's Department of Government Efficiency government cuts.
Because of Trump, I just lost my job.
This guy's on TikTok. He's just
In fact, my entire department just lost their jobs. I was one of the head research analysts in charge of discovering how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Brilliant. And probably more than half true. Yes, it really is a mad and crazy world.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Oh boy. Oh man, that's too much. Anyway, here's one. I guess since that was kind of short, let's go ahead and play this one. It says Donald Trump savagely mocks woke Hollywood. This one's from Sky News Australia as well.
US President Donald Trump has dismissed concerns around China's call to ban Hollywood movies.
President, China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things.
Social media users have been quick to react to the president's response, but many are using it as a chance to savagely slam Hollywood for the woke films it produces. One user wrote, "This trade war is more entertaining than Hollywood has been for the last 10 years anyway." Another wrote, "What do we have to do to get our theatres to show less US films? They suck and are just agenda pushers with horrible acting."
Yes.
And another wrote, "Less money for toxic Hollywood trash? Thanks, China." This all comes as Disney's remake of Snow White flops at the box office. Brianna Lyman joined Power Hour for her take on how Hollywood ruined a fairy tale. Snow White, Disney's Snow White, is getting slammed not just for being woke and ruining a beautiful fairy tale, but the left are now upset because Disney's remake of Snow White produced more carbon emissions than the most recent Fast and Furious film, according to a report by The Guardian. According to an analysis of the Disney sets, Snow White and Little Mermaid, that produced more pollution than any other Disney film made in the UK since 2019. Brianna, I just have to laugh reading this. It's agreed certainly now on all sides that Snow White has been a complete disaster.
It is, and I'm kind of happy to see it because the lead actress has been really insufferable for quite a while. And I think this is also the hypocrisy of Hollywood. They preach down to the average middle American, how dare you drive your truck around when we're trying to save the climate, and you have Snow White with all this emission. You have Taylor Swift flying her private jet around. All of these people, it is rules for thee, but not for me.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what else has been a disaster. Michelle Obama's podcast. It has been a massive flop. Her new podcast has been ranked 34th on Spotify's podcast charts just weeks after her first episode alongside her brother, Craig Robinson, called IMO. Now, the first episode had just 300,000 views. The second had less, 200,000 views. The left wants to see a Joe Rogan for the left, and it's not going to be Michelle Obama. That they're trying. People clearly don't want to listen to her.
Yeah, the reason that Republicans, especially Donald Trump, were so successful with podcasts wasn't just because they were simply doing podcasts, which was important,
but they were
because
authentic.
of the ideas that they were talking about on these podcasts. The entire country shifted right this past election. Michelle Obama has not shifted right. She's not shifted with the country. So she doesn't appeal to voters. The other problem is the Obamas at one point in American history, they were cultural trendsetters. They had some kind of grip on the American people. They don't have that anymore. And I think Michelle Obama is realizing that now with these low viewers, that maybe she shouldn't have waded into the podcast world because nobody cares.
Well said. The White House has confirmed tariffs imposed on Chinese goods are now at 145%, as Donald Trump isolates Beijing and rewards other countries who are willing to negotiate. Hillary Fordwich joined Power Hour for her analysis of the trade war. Some people are still confused by Donald Trump's moves. What's your assessment of what he's doing here?
Well, smashing to be back with you. And you were totally right when you called it the art of the deal. And I would add to that the art of the reciprocal trade deal.
Absolutely.
Yes. One of the issues around the world, and I deal with global companies. I'm in different countries, and I've just done some recent media in the UK, and it's very interesting. Let's just take the UK for an example. The first day after the tariffs were announced, they actually, across the UK media, were saying, Trump slaps 10% tariffs on the UK. What none of them were mentioning is that the UK tariffs US goods by 10%. This is a reciprocal tax. It's fair. Of course, I'm speaking as an American taxpayer, but basically is, we'll do unto you as you've done to us. For example, India had 150% tariff, Gabriella, and Trump has brought that down. And Caroline Levitt was totally right. It was 70 countries. Now it's up to about 75 countries that have reached out. Look at areas like the EU. Ursula von der Leyen, she has already capitulated. I actually found it very interesting to hear her talk about tariffs as a tax. It's the only time I've actually ever heard her concerned about taxes. But the EU has now dropped their threat of tariffs, and those tariffs now are balanced out and they have come to their senses. So I think this has been a way of rectifying what had occurred since the Second World War. Basically, the US has been the world's piggy bank. And last but not least, President Trump has said, he actually has stated, he doesn't blame foreign leaders or foreign trade leaders. He blames former US presidents and former US trade representatives who let this imbalance face, Gabriella.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to get your commentary around the media in the UK. Certainly the media here in Australia were freaking out. And it just reminded me of 2020 when there was so much panic. And then we heard all these experts saying that we had to stay indoors and lock down and wear masks. And only a few years later, we actually were told that that was an overreaction. And it's just interesting hearing some of the experts complain about what Donald Trump is doing. And Donald Trump, of course, has a chaotic way of negotiating, but I don't think you can really judge him on that. You have to judge him on the results. And right now he's isolating China. It's probably too early to be celebrating, but let's look at China. What does this mean for them? There's plenty of indications that Beijing is feeling the heat.
Well, yes, and actually I would say this is a big game of chicken. It's a question of who's going to balk first. And it comes down to one fundamental. Who needs who more? That's what brinkmanship is all about. And Donald Trump knows that China certainly needs the US more than we need China. The only thing I would say, Gabriella, is that onshoring, reshoring of manufacturing to America does take time. Yes. Some of these things absolutely don't happen overnight. And I think that's an issue. The other thing is, don't forget, the only real weakness Donald Trump has are two things. One, the current polling, but that really doesn't fundamentally matter until the midterms. Well, the midterms usually are 2 years in, so we're 3 months into that. So he's got a tight runway. He needs to have everything balanced out, sane and stable by then. And I thought a very interesting quote, actually, with regard to the stock market and all these global gyrations. Of course, the Dow soared today by 3,000 points, the highest Second World War. But somebody said the only people that get hurt during a roller coaster ride are the people that jump off. Just stay on and hold on tight.
And that's an important message. Do you think Americans are willing to put up with some short-term pain, I suppose, for long-term gain?
Well, first of all, what you just said was very sensible. The question then becomes, are all Americans sensible? Number one, I'm not going to speak. Number one, I'm not going to speak for the whole nation. But secondly, it depends which party you're in, of course, because Republicans think differently than many Democrats. Actually, I thought during President Trump's speech to the joint House a while ago, when all the Democrats sat for everything, they even sat when he was talking about lowering taxes. I thought, gosh, When taxes do come down, every single registered Democrat should have their taxes remain high because they don't want lower taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, so when you ask what people think in the US, it depends which party you are. I will say that uncertainty is good for any business, and we just need a bit of. I think that's what we got today.
Yes, very measured. Thank you. Good advice for everyone who's listening.
So anyway, I just wanted to show you all those videos. Yeah, that is crazy. The way that they did sit down during that joint meeting thing. So basically, you don't care about your constituents. You just want to oppose Donald Trump. Because I know everybody wants lower taxes. Anyway, I may make some more videos. We'll see. Just want to kind of chill out for the rest of the afternoon, but I may not. But anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good afternoon. See y'all. Bye.